everybody. This is educational content for the purposes of documentation, education, as well as research. Again, this is educational content for true crime. Let's go.
A federal grand jury indicted two North Texas men accused of plotting to invade a foreign island, kill the men, and take the women.
We talk about all kinds of news, guys. You guys know it. But this situation that I'm about to tell you took my breath away. You have two men. We have a 21-year-old by the name of Gavin Weisenburg, and we have a 20-year-old by the name of Tanner Christopher Thomas, who basically in the span of a year decided to plot and plan the invasion of an island, Gonave. They were doing this by recruiting homeless people, taking sailboat classes, joining the military. Their plan was to invade this island and kill off the men, take over the women and the children. You do have to kind of wonder how these individuals ever really thought about why this would be a good idea. Now, I haven't seen a lot of people talk about it, but these are the kinds of stories and cases that we have to talk about, because this 21-year-old and this 20-year-old, seemingly pretty normal guys, had quite the plan. Let's bring attention to it. Let's get into this indictment right now. Indictment, United States of America versus Gavin Weisenburg and Tanner Christopher Thomas. General allegations. The grand jury charges, and these are the general allegations. Defendant Gavin Weisenburg and Tanner Christopher Thomas were residents of the Eastern District of Texas. Beginning in August of 2024 and continuing through July 2025, Gavin Weisenburg and Tanner Christopher Thomas developed a plan to recruit and lead an unlawful expeditionary force to travel by sailboat to the Republic of Haiti, specifically Gonave Island, murder all the men on the island, assume control of the island by force, and carry out their fantasies by turning the remaining women and children into slaves. The Republic of Haiti is a sovereign nation. Gonave Island is an island located off of Haiti's coast to the west-northwest of Port-au-Prince. Gonave Island is a territory of the Republic of Haiti and has a population of approximately 87,000 residents. The object of the conspiracy was to unlawfully carry out a coup d'etat in the island of Gonave in the Republic of Haiti. Now, this is French, and I had to look up the French word, which apparently means to overthrow government or to take down. It means to blow the state through forceful and sudden means overthrowing the government. That's really what this conspiracy that these two individuals were doing. The co-conspirators conducted research, reconnaissance, recruiting, planning, and sought training to effectuate their plan. It was the goal of the conspiracy to take military control of the island of Gonave by murdering all the men on the island and capturing all the women. Upon capture, the co-conspirators intended to turn the women and children of Gonave into slaves. The co-conspirators planned to purchase a sailboat to travel from the United States to Gonave for their attack. The co-conspirators planned to recruit and hire members of the District of Columbia homeless population to be part of their unlawful expeditionary force. It was also an object of the conspiracy to acquire and use weapons during their armed attacks on Gonave. The co-conspirators researched weapons and ammunition and planned purchases of military-type rifles to use in the attack. Further, an object of the conspiracy was to unlawfully and knowingly combine, conspire, confederate, and agree to commit any offense against the United States in the United States, knowingly beginning and providing and preparing means for an armed attack to be carried out on from the United States against the territory and dominion of a foreign state, namely the Republic of Haiti. Okay, we're going to get into the matter and means of the conspiracy. The defendants, Gavin Weisenburg and Tanner Christopher Thomas, along with co-conspirators known and unknown to the grand jury, acted in concert to carry out the objectives of the conspiracy through various means, including but not limited to conducting a military expedition and enterprise with the intent to overthrow the government of the Republic of Haiti on Gonave Island, planning, scouting targets, identifying methods for subduing and murdering the male population of Gonave with the purpose and intent to murder, kidnap, and other people on Gonave, recruiting others to join in the military enterprise and armed coup attack as personnel for their expeditionary force, and in some cases recruiting personnel in exchange for money, planning to acquire and operate the means of transporting their expeditionary force from the United States to Gonave, specifically by purchasing a sailboat for this purpose. The co-conspirators planned for at least one member of the conspiracy to obtain training in sailing the boat for the purposes of their armed coup attack, planning to acquire firearms, ammunition, and explosives to be transported by sailboat from the United States to Gonave to arm the expeditionary force for their armed coup attack. The co-conspirators planned for one member of the conspiracy to enlist in the United States military for the purposes of obtaining military training useful in carrying out their armed coup attack, communicating over social media platforms and meeting with other in person to plan the armed coup attack, overt acts in furtherance of the conspiracy and to achieve the objectives thereof. The defendants and others committed and caused to be committed in the Eastern District of Texas and elsewhere at least one of the following overt acts, among others. Weisenburg, Thomas, and others made operational and logistic plans to overthrow the government of the Republic of Haiti and Gonave Island. Between July 2024 and May 2025, Weisenburg and Thomas engaged in Haitian Creole language training for the purposes of facilitating their armed coup plat. Just about a year of learning the language so they can take over. On or about January 7th of 2025, Tanner Christopher Thomas enlisted in the United States Air Force for the purposes of obtaining military training that would be useful in carrying out their armed coup attack. On February 28, 2025, Thomas confirmed by social media message to Weisenburg that his purpose in enlisting was to further their planned armed coup attack. On or about August 5th, 2024, Gavin Weisenburg enrolled in the North Texas Fire Academy in Rockwell, Texas, for the purposes of obtaining training in command and control protocols that would be useful during their armed coup attack. On February 8, 2025, Weisenburg failed out of the school and was dismissed. Couldn't cut it in the school, y'all. On or about February 20th of 2025, Gavin Weisenburg purchased plane tickets and traveled to Thailand, at least in part for the purpose of enrolling in a sailing school to learn to sail the boat the co-conspirators planned to buy as their means of transportation for their armed coup attack. Once in Thailand, Weisenburg ultimately did not enroll in the sailing school due to costs. On various dates between August 2024 and May 2025, Gavin Weisenburg and Tanner Christopher Thomas attempted to recruit others, both online and in person, to join their expeditionary force for their armed coup attack. On or about March 14, 2025, Tanner Christopher Thomas, while in Air Force basic training, successfully changed his initial station assignment from Ramstein Air Base in Germany to Andrews Air Base in Maryland for the dual purposes of 1, remaining in the United States to facilitate the group armed coup attack, and 2, being located near the District of Columbia to facilitate the recruitment of members of the area's homeless population to serve as members of their unlawful expeditionary force. Then we get into the counts. Count 1, and it basically says conspire to kill or kidnap person in a foreign country. Paragraphs 1 through 8 are incorporated by reference as if fully set forth herein. Beginning on or about August 4, 2024, and continuing through or about July 3, 2025, the exact dates being unknown to the grand jury in the Eastern District of Texas and elsewhere, defendants Gavin Weisenburg and Tanner Christopher Thomas knowingly conspired, confederated, and agreed with each other and others, known and unknown to the grand jury, to commit at any place outside of the United States an act that would constitute the offenses of murder, and kidnapping if committed in the special maritime and territorial jurisdictions of the United States, and in doing so committed an act within the jurisdiction of the United States to affect any object of the conspiracy, in furtherance of the conspiracy and to accomplish the object of the conspiracy. Defendants Gavin Weisenburg and Tanner Thomas committed overt acts, including those acts elected in paragraph 8, incorporated herein by reference, all in violation of Title 18 of the United States Code, Section 956A. Now, count 2, violation, which is S, exploitation of children, production of the child material, aiding and abetting on or about August 31st, 2024, within the Eastern District of Texas. Defendants Gavin Weisenburg and Tanner Christopher Thomas did employ, use, pursue, induce, entice, and coerce a minor. Oh my God. So they actually coerce a minor to engage in S, explicit conduct for the purposes of producing any visual depiction of such conduct, and aided and abetted each other to do the same, knowing and having reason to that such visual depiction would be transported and transmitted using any means and facilities of interstate and foreign commerce, that such visual depiction was produced using material that had been mailed, shipped, and transported in and affecting interstate and foreign commerce by any means, including by computer, that such visual depiction was actually transported and transmitted using any means and facility of interstate and foreign commerce, and in and affecting interstate and foreign commerce. Specifically, the defendant Gavin Weisenburg and Tanner Christopher Thomas did employ, use, persuade, induce, entice, and coerce minor victim 1, a minor known to the grand jury, to engage in actually explicit conduct for the purposes of producing a visual depiction of such conduct, to wit, the video, they have the video title here, oh my God, and did aid and abet each other to do the same using the internet and digital devices they own and possessed. Oh my God, these individuals are disgusting. And whose child? Oh my gosh. All violations of 18 USC. Let's keep going. Forfeiture of notice. Of course, that usually means that you are having to give up property or anything of value. They're in their 20s. I don't know how much property people usually acquire unless there's an inheritance or something. And this is D. Ryan Locker, the Assistant United States Attorney, that signed this. Notice of penalty, the count 1 and 2. This is what they have, and that is the indictment. So because Tanner Christopher Thomas is in the military, there is a writ of habeas corpus. It looks like Christopher Tanner Thomas has already hired a lawyer who's already submitted his appearance. This is just insane. Please note that the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Texas has also made a press release detailing more information. North Texas men indicted in Eastern District of Texas for an international murder and kidnapping scheme. We get a little bit more details here about what these two men were planning to do. 2 North Texas men have been charged in relation to a plot that included invading an island off Haiti, murdering the men on the island, and using the women and children as slaves, announced the U.S. Attorney J.R. Combs. Now, Gavin Weisenburg, 21 years old, of Allen, and Tanner Christopher Thomas, 20, were named in 2-count indictment returned by a federal grand jury in the Eastern District of Texas, charging them with conspiracy to murder, maim, or kidnap in foreign country and production of child material. Information presented in court indicates that between August 2024 and July 2025, Weisenburg and Thomas are alleged to have conspired to recruit and lead unlawful expeditionary force to the islands of Gonave, which is part of the Republic of Haiti, for the purposes of carrying out their fantasies. Weisenburg and Thomas planned to purchase a sailboat, firearms, and ammunition, then recruit members of the District of Columbia area homeless population to serve as mercenary force. As they invade Gonave Island, Weisenburg and Thomas intended to murder all of the men on the island so that they could then turn all the women and children into their slaves. Weisenburg and Thomas undertook numerous overt acts in furtherance of their invasion plan, including making operational and logistic plans, learning the Haitian Creole language recruiting others to join the invasion plan, and researching and enrolling in schools to acquire skills relevant to the invasion plan. Thomas even enlisted in the U.S. Air Force to acquire military skills relevant to the invasion plan. Weisenburg and Thomas also charged with production of child material in a related count in the if convicted of the federal conspiracy to commit murder in foreign country, Weisenburg and Thomas could face up to a life in federal prison. If convicted of the federal production of child material charges, both face 15 years and up to 30 years in federal prison. This case is being investigated by the FBI, the U.S. Air Force of Special Investigations, and Salina Police Department. The case is being prosecuted by the Assistant U.S. Attorney Ryan Locker. A grand jury indictment is not evidence of guilt. All defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. I don't know, guys, but it seems to me that these two individuals were trying to create like their own Epstein Island by taking over another island. I don't think somebody just wakes up one morning and says, I'm going to take over an island or a country or whatever. It does kind of make you wonder what evidence they had, how long they have been watched, because it looks like these two individuals, which by the way are very, very young for their ages, but these two individuals have been planning this for quite some time. And here's the deal. Here's my thing. What in the world was going on in their upbringing that somehow they think it's okay to just take over a country, a bunch of people in the country, and then take over the women and the children? Where does that come from? Where does the need and the planning to do that come from? That's the question. Trying to recruit the homeless population to help out. And that they're very young, 2021. I hope that they are punished to the fullest extent. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.